Call to order the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners business meeting this March 26, 2015. We'll ask our County Administrator, Don Krupp, to take the roll.
So good morning, Commissioners. We are joined this morning with County Counsel Stephen Madcore and Clerk of the Board Mary Rathgate. So Commissioner Bernard. Here. Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Here.
Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Chair Ludlow.
Here, you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, the first order of business, and we try to make it that all the time, is the citizens' communication. I have a couple cards here, Mr. David Wilder and Mr. Les Poole. So come on forward. Either one of you can go first. Yeah, be sure to give your name and where you live. And I don't think a specific address is necessary because it's on the card, but just what town or area.
I live in Happy Valley.
Is that button on, Mary? I've got to make sure the green light is there. Okay, David. Just pull that microphone a little closer to you, and be ready to go.
Happy Valley is where I live.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Do I just start talking?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I came here, I saw this. I happened to pick up this free newspaper called Northwest Connection. I just pick it up really occasionally. And there was an article in there about a development called Eagle Landing, where the county and Happy Valley were planning to waive about $9 million in some kind of development fees, and I thought that was a, and I read the article, and that was the first time I had seen anything about it, and I just, from what I read, there was no financial need presented for that waiver to take place in order for the development to occur. And I question that seriously because, well, I used to work, for 37 years for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And I worked in the Community Development Office for about all but 13 of those years. And the last 13, I was a equal opportunity investigator and investigating complaints alleging discrimination, and which does happen sometimes, occasionally. But anyway, one of the programs we used to have, which I used to administer, well, I also administered the, I was called the state program coordinator in the community development program for the state of Tennessee, which we gave about $23.5 million every year of community development money, and I oversaw and reviewed the state's process and procedures and went on a few site trips with the state to their just typical projects to see how they are operating and administering their program. And I was the community development representative for all sizes and kinds of local government, from the city of Memphis, including Memphis, down to the smallest county, which had less than 6,000 population. Anyway, the Urban Development Action Grant always required something called a but-for statement, which basically said that but for this financial assistance, this project could not take place. And I think that is that was missing in this Eagle Landing project, and that worried me because I've seen over the years, I've seen some local governments do really what I would consider not very well thought out actions. One local city sold their water system for, I'll say, a certain amount of dollars to a private company. And 1 year later, they bought the water system back at a price of 3 times what they sold it for. And I'm sure, and I'm not making that stuff up, it just happens. I'm sure all the commissioners thought they were doing a wonderful job for the city in the city's residents' best interest. But anyway, cities just do, well, they're all unique, I'll say that. Yeah, they're all unique. And each one but I just thought that some kind of a but-for statement should be required, or the city and the county would not be acting. And that should be very carefully reviewed by an independent outside auditor, because the cities and county representatives do have a responsibility for the financial well-being of the local governments that they are part of. And it just...
David, I got to interrupt you. We usually give 3 minutes, and I've given you 5. So if you can wrap it up, then we'd appreciate it.
Well,
I appreciate you coming.
I think you need to have some kind of they need to show some kind of financial need for the project. Local governments, just my experience, there are economic ups and downs in the economy, and it just kind of irresponsible to give away money unless it is absolutely essential, or give them some kind of a loan that they would pay back over a certain time period. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Savas. Look, you got it.
Thanks for, David, thanks for bringing that forward. And I read the article myself, and I think the reader would come to a similar conclusion as you did. But the article did not include some very important details. Number one, from my perspective, and I think a majority of the board here's perspective, is that there's no giveaway. It's not general fund money of the county, and they have to perform and meet certain criteria in order to be eligible for any of the SDC reductions, in order to even receive. But they're going to buy the apartments. They're going to bring cash to the table to buy the apartments for the full assessed value of $2.4 million. If they build a minimum amount of 560,000 taxable square footage of taxable property, it should generate approximately $1.7 million of taxable income per year for the taxing districts of Clackamas County, which is approximately was it 5 times or 8 times more than is currently producing today. So there is a benefit, but they have to build the project, so there's no handout of money. If they do that, they'll be eligible to be refunded the $2.4 million. The balance of the $9.4 million is SDCs, and in lieu of the county building the roads or some of the traffic improvements, they're obligated to build some of those themselves. So it's not a give, in my opinion, and they have to perform. So if they fail to perform, we haven't lost any money. We haven't lost a dime. And we'll have, if they don't perform, we'll still have $2.4 million of full assessed value of the property. If they don't perform, there'll be no reductions of TSDCs or the SDCs. And so it's unfortunate that the newspaper, the article did not include some very important details of the arrangement. And again, you're not the only one who's been led to believe what you believe. And on the surface of it, it doesn't look right. And I apologize for that. I think the board decided on Tuesday that we would try to have our staff put together a fact sheet and try to circulate that to clarify what the deal really is. I apologize that it's been misinterpreted and people have walked away with that. I've been approached almost every day about this, and I can tell you that, I'll just share it now. In Tuesday night in Jenny's Lodge, an area that wanted a couple $1 million for a park to acquire some property, was very upset that we gave away $10 million and we didn't buy them a park for $2 million. I said, well, that's not how it is. I had to explain it all over again. So there's a need out there for clarification, and I think we directed our staff to do that. So we'll be having something out here shortly.
Since the article was about my opinions, I have been opposed to it, but my information is not, quote, misinformation, quote, distortion of facts, quote, untrue. It is a reasonable, viable political position, and any efforts to paint my position as somehow misleading the public is simply unfair and unfounded. Let me just read that into the record. So, you know, we've talked about this ad nauseum. If you watched the last business meeting, I think you'd get a flavor of how some people are very excited about this. So thank you, sir, for coming forward today. Your first time here.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming. Mr. Poole.
I can assure you it gets easier. We'll see you again, huh?
From the expert.
Les Poole, Clackamas County. Last week, I believe it was last week, I held up an article from the Tribune about Metro proposing a fuel tax, a gas tax. And of course, today we see there's an amendment to a bill down in the legislature. And what this will do is they describe it as relaxing the constraints on use of the gas tax. And for what purpose would you imagine?
Oh, light rail.
Oh, of course.
Feeding the hungry.
You know, it's gotten so out of hand, and the money isn't there for the grandiose plan that Metro and TriMet and hundreds of well-paid planners have come up with. And we're going to reach a point, that famous term tipping point, where it's all going to go upside down. In the meantime, I can go to the Clackamas County website or look in the newspaper. I can hear we've got a road maintenance problem and no money to fix them. I've been coming in here for the last month, bringing it up. It's not the commissioner's fault we're in the position we're in. I found a poster the other day. I don't have any idea where I got it. It's a poster opposing the gas tax that the county was going to levy in 1995 because the roads were in a crisis. As long as I've been in Clackamas County, the can has been kicked down the road. Anyone that goes to the website can take a look, and it looks like there's a menu of 3 options for a gas tax. We're going to have to do something serious, and the first one, from what I see, is not serious. It says, you know, we could possibly vote for like $5 million to maintain current levels. Correct me if I'm wrong. So what does that mean? We're going to levy a $5 million gas tax to stay where we're at and tread water? So what we really are going to have to do is do some serious outreach We're going to have some articles and things in the newspaper, and we're going to have to concentrate on how we're going to save the roads in Clackamas County, because you sure aren't getting any help from Metro and TriMet. And speaking of Metro, they're opposed to the county's position on the remand. And I don't have time to get into it, but I've got some real concerns of what the county may be losing because the courts rejected years and millions of dollars of work and planning, that much of which went out the window. And we all paid for it. And it's got to change, and that means we've got to address Metro, and we've got to get real about how we're doing things. Too bad there isn't time to talk about being a property owner in Damascus, where, of course, the biggest creation of that problem was pie-in-the-sky promises from Metro. I have to go to Salem today, so I'm in a serious mood. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Les.
Hey, John, I have a letter.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Bernard.
One of the things, Les, could you maybe send me some information what that bill is or what? Because one of the issues, there are various counties that get a whole bunch of money they can only use for roads, and they have no roads. So some of those counties wanted to pay for law enforcement. So that could be part of what you're talking about. I'd like to look at that and just so I can decide.
Mr. Krupp, our next order of agenda.
Yes, so the first item of the morning is a consideration of a previously approved land use issue. I'm going to ask Mr. Nate Boderman from the County Counsel's Office to provide you a report and recommendation.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nate Boderman, Assistant County Counsel. Pleased to be here this morning to present to you an order related to a comprehensive plan amendment, a zone change, and consolidated conditional use request for Karen Karlsson of Powerhouse Regen LLC and Bull Run Schoolhouse LLC, affecting property commonly referred to as 40401, Southeast Thomas Road, 41515 Southeast Thomas Road, and 31115 Southeast Bull Run Road. Specifically, this is a board order approving 3 separate land use applications. First, an amendment to the Clackamas County Comprehensive Plan to redesignate a portion of the subject property from forest to rural, a corresponding zone change from the TBR Timber District 80-acre zone to farm forest, the FF10 zoning district, and consolidated request for a conditional use permit to authorize a private park on the 80 acres of the site, zone TBR, and a conditional use permit to authorize a private park, campground, and education center on 20 acres of the site zoned FF10. These applications have been identified as planning files number 0207-14-C, Z0208-14-CP, and Z0209-14-Z. The planning staff originally recommended denial of this application of the Clackamas County Planning Commission. The Planning Commission conducted public hearings on this matter on July 28th, August 11th, and August 25th, 2014, and unanimously voted to recommend that this board approve those applications. The board then conducted public hearing on this on October 22nd, 2014, at which time testimony and evidence was presented. On December 3rd, 2014, this board unanimously voted to approve those applications limited to that area identified in Exhibit B, which has been included with your board packet materials, and the conditions of approval, which are identified in Exhibit C, which is also included with your materials. The board then directed staff to prepare the findings and to draft a board order to finalize the decision. So that's what we're doing here today. The order before you today will approve those land use applications which I discussed previously and will adopt the conditions of approval which are set forth in your materials and which you previously approved. In addition to the map showing the property that will be redesignated and rezoned, in the list specifying those conditions of approval which are attached as Exhibit C, staff has included extensive findings which support your decision and which are included as Exhibit A in your board materials. So it is certainly staff's recommendation that you adopt this order here this morning, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Commissioner Bernard.
So I really had thought we were done with this, so I was surprised to see it. So we kind of wear 2 hats in this situation. A land use hat in our land use hearings, and then a final adoption of a board order saying
this is what we agreed to, and with amendments. And then as a commission, we vote on that again. Because I was really surprised to see it back in front of us. I guess it's rare to have these kind of things, so, right?
Not entirely. Under state law, you have to adopt amendments to comprehensive plans and zoning ordinances as a board ordinance or a board order. And so what we typically do is we hold a land use hearing in which you give staff direction to then draft the materials necessary for you to adopt the order. And so in one sense, yes, you are operating as a quasi-judicial hearing body during the land use hearing. And when you come here, then you act as the Board of Commissioners to adopt those orders into the official comprehensive plan and zoning code. And so it is a two-step process. In some instances where perhaps it's non-controversial or it's a straightforward adoption or amendment to the comprehensive plan, what we can do is consolidate all these actions into one hearing. We've done that before. But for these more complex applications, you'll probably appreciate all the materials that we compiled for you in there, that you have to adopt findings supporting that decision. And so I think the Exhibit A, which has the findings supporting your decision, is something along the lines of 70 or 80 pages for this particular application. It's a complex application, and so typically between the time that you make that order and the time that we adopt the ordinance here today, we have to have time to compile those findings for you.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that our planning office, planning department opposed it in the beginning. The planning commission supported it, and now our planning department supports moving forward as amended. So I think that's important to note that, with our efforts and all those hearings, some adjustments were made that brought our planning department to another conclusion. And today we're just moving forward on finishing up this project.
Would this be the last one, Nate? The last time we touch this? We are, by the way, scheduled in the next several weeks. Our policy coordinators and us have been invited out because we're very curious about this place and how it's changed from the old days, so to speak. We've been invited out to take a look at it. I think it'd be highly interesting because, as Jim says, it's very unusual. But is this the last we'll see of this?
This will be the last touch on this particular application, of course, unless there is an appeal. And so once you adopt the order and once that is effective, under land use law, there's 21 days for anybody to appeal that decision. And so unless it's appealed, this should be the last time that you touch this particular application.
I'm going to hold you to that promise. Commissioner Bernard.
So it's 21 days after this what we do today?
Correct.
Oh, but I don't remember a lot of opposition to this project.
Several people, justified neighbors.
Yeah, a few neighbors, but I mean, I feel comfortable moving forward. Unlike the other big thing we did, which was the lavender farm, which we had no opposition. We just had a couple of neighbors concerned about this. And I think we tried to address those concerns in some of the adjustments we made. Thank you.
Any other questions of the presenter? I'll ask for motion.
I move we approve the board order for the comprehensive plan map amendment and zone change application conditional use permit for Karen Karlsson of Powerhouse RE General LLC and Bull Run School LLC as previously approved at the December 3rd, 2014 land use hearing.
Second.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Bernard, seconded by Commissioner Schrader. Further discussion?
I just want to say that I'm looking forward to going out there again. It's a great site, and I think for the most part, when people really realize what the project really is and what they're trying to restore, maintain, and preserve, it's an invaluable site. I think we'll all love that tour. It's a great property.
All right, we ready for the poll? Mary?
Commissioner Bernard?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Commissioner Savis?
Aye.
Chair Ludlow?
Again, it passes 5-0. We're setting a record here. Thank you, Nate. All right, we're going to recess as the Board of County Commissioners and reconvene as the County Extension and 4-H Service District for the next item. Mr. Krupp.
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution for a supplemental budget amendment for the Clackamas County Extension and 4-H Service District. I'm going to ask Diane Padilla, our budget manager, to present to you the report and recommendation.
Yes, I'm here to request adoption of a supplemental budget of greater than 10% for the County Extension and 4-H Service District for fiscal year 14-15. What the district would like to do is recognize additional fund balance carry forward they had from the previous year of $263,976, and also transfer from contingency into materials and services an additional $253,741. Result would be an increase in the materials and services spending category of $717,000. And the reason they're doing this is that they are hoping before year end to be able to move forward with requesting some design services for their Extension Education Center. So they're just providing themselves with authorization to do so. And if that doesn't come to pass, they will just rebudget for the same purpose in the next fiscal year. Are there any questions I could answer?
I think it's worthy to explain, and because when people see this 10%, I got a feeling, a lot of times they think that there needs to be 10% additional money put in, when in fact, it's simply a variation of 10% either way from the budgeted amount, correct?
Right, and then there's also rules for determining your 10%, because this is really, I think, about a $4.5 million budget. Yes, $4.5 million budget. But to calculate your 10%, you have to remove the contingency and reserves and calculate it on what's left, which was about $1.6 million. So to recognize the fund balance of over $200,000, we are then into a greater than 10% situation. But most of their budget is contingency and reserves because they've been saving diligently for this new building, and they're very excited about it. And so that's how we're here today.
Commissioner Smith.
I was going to mention that, Diane. This particular organization, because the taxpayers approved their district, have been saving money in large amounts every year to be able to afford to build a new 4-H Extension Center. And they probably will do it with cash. Knowing them, and they have not gotten ahead of themselves. They decided not to go out and borrow money and then make payments, which I think is very good of their financial management.
Commissioner Bernard.
So this is sort of related. Because you're sitting up here, I thought I would ask. And it has to do with our consent agenda. And we have a couple of changes here. The first one is transfer of appropriations for fiscal year 2014 from the general budget changes for the Clackamas County's general fund, I believe. And it's just $27,000 and $28,000. How's that 10%?
It's not. That's why I'm not presenting
It's
it.
on
It's
consent.
eligible for consent because it's just a transfer.
Less than
So so we're just having this is a public
Right, this
hearing on
requires a
this, so
public
somebody
hearing.
wants, okay. I just thought, I wouldn't even think you'd have to put that in a consent agenda because it's such a tiny amount of money.
Yeah, I think what Diane Padilla is trying to tell us is that this is a different transfer and a different amount of money that qualifies at the 10%, not what's in the consent agenda. So what's in the consent agenda, as I understand, is not related to what
Right,
we're
it's a general
before us.
county item, but we do need to bring any of these changes before you and get your approval to change what has already been budgeted.
Just by law, even though it's not 10%.
Right.
It just has to be, for public purposes, transparency, it's put in the consent agenda. Okay, thank you.
All right. That is the balance of your presentation. We'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone wishes to testify on this item. All right, I'll close the public hearing portion and ask for a motion.
I move we approve the resolution for a Clackamas County Extension and 4-H Service District supplemental budget greater than 10% and budget reduction for fiscal year 2014-2015.
Second.
A motion made by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Bernard. Commissioner Bernard.
So I think this is a good time maybe just bring up the discussion about support of the fairgrounds, which the 4-H uses quite a bit of, but they don't actually contribute much to the fairground, and consequently, they find it challenging to move forward, and so do we. So I just thought that during this, I might take the opportunity to, I hope we'll have that discussion with the Extension Service and 4-H about how could they help support the fair. I totally support this. I'm excited about their investment and hope that I'll be able to take some classes out there.
Now that you're a rancher, that's right.
Yeah, rancher.
Rancher. All right, further discussion on the motion? I'll ask the clerk to call a poll.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Bernard?
Aye.
Chair Ludlow?
Aye, passes 5-0. We will adjourn as the County Extension 4-H Service District and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners for the remainder of the meeting. It's time for the consent agenda. I'll ask the clerk to read the consent agenda by title.
Okay, the consent agenda. Under Health, Housing, and Human Services, approval to apply to the Oregon Department of Education, Oregon Early Learning Division, Healthy Families, Oregon, for request for proposal to provide home visiting parenting programs. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement with North Clackamas School District to provide teen mentor program services. Also, continuing under Health, Housing, and Human Services, approval of an intergovernmental agreement, amendment number 1, with Multnomah County Department of Human Services, Aging and Disability Services Division to provide options, counseling, and gatekeeper services. Approval of a memorandum of understanding between Clackamas County and the Workforce Investment Council for the Leap Forward Strong Bond Program. A continuation of an innovative partnership including Clackamas County Jail, Clackamas County Community Corrections, Community Solutions of Clackamas County, Oregon Employment Department, and Clackamas Community College for the linking employment activities. Under elected officials, approval of previous business meeting minutes. Under the Department of Finance, a resolution for Clackamas County for budgeting of new specific purpose revenue for fiscal year 2014-2015, and a resolution for Clackamas County for transfer of appropriations for fiscal year 2014-2015. Under our Business and Community Services Department, we have a board order approving the Clackamas County Public Oral Auction to disperse tax foreclosed and surplus properties on May 13th, 2015, and a board order approving a revised property resource policy. And under the Juvenile Department, approval of Amendment Number 5 to the intergovernmental agreement with Multnomah County for 17 detention beds for juvenile and ballot measure 11 offenders. And that concludes the consent agenda.
All right, is there a motion?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Schrader. Further discussion? All right, it's time for the poll.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Bernard?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
And Chair Ludlow?
Aye, passes 5-0. We're on a record-setting pace here. I wonder what Rick Gruen's doing out here, but I'm just checking in that. And now, that exciting time that everybody waits for, it's the County Administrator Update.
Thank you, Chair. Well, as you know, I always have good news to share, and this morning is no exception. I have some really good news about a couple of employees who work right in the County Commissioner's office. So last night, Toastmasters International held an area speech contest at Marylhurst University. And our own Drenda Howitt, who is our supervising policy coordinator, won first place for inspirational speaker.
Yay, Brenda.
Yeah, terrific. And then also our own Kevin Moss, who, as you know, runs the office, won second place for the evaluator role at the speaking contest. So again, congratulations to Kevin and congratulations to Drenda. We're proud of our employees' participation. That's the County Commissioner's Office participating in this that won those awards. So
Particularly Kevin, who said that he gave his presentation off a paper plate. That's resiliency. That's using everything he had.
creativity. I've got a couple of other items to share with you. One is this last week we did see the reopening or the opening of a new motorized gate at the Oak Grove Boulevard boat ramp where the road kind of runs down and then into the Willamette River. The installation of the gate is part of an agreement that was reached between the county and members of the community to keep the boat ramp open to the public and to enable it to be able to be used in an appropriate and legitimate way and not be a safety hazard or a dumping location. The gate will remain open from 1 hour before sunrise to 1 hour after sunset, and of course the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office will continue to monitor the area and its use. Then just in the next couple of weeks, we're expecting the Beaver Creek Health Center to begin undergoing a significant remodel. We've received 2 federal grants that will help us in remodeling to set in a new in-house pharmacy, a computer area, an information center, and a children's area, as well as improvements to the reception area and the restrooms. And so there'll be some work underway while the facility is being used, so there'll be a little bit of disruption there. The work will be completed by July. And then finally, I'm very pleased to be able to announce the appointment of Greg Geist as our Director of Water Environment Services. He was named to the position on Monday following what was a nationwide recruitment. And he has been serving as the acting director in that position since December of last year, 2014, and has been working at Water Environment Services as the water quality manager since 2013. And of course, I know that Commissioner Savas and Chair Ludlow attended last night's regional wastewater meeting, and he played a key role in that meeting in providing data and information and helping the public understand the challenges that system faces with regard to future capacity needs. So
They did a great job.
he did. He certainly did. Yes. That's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Krupp. And we will start with Commissioners' communication. Start with Commissioner Smith.
Thank you. I'll be very brief today. I'm still a little bit under the weather, but as you know, Martha Schrader and I are on the Willamette Falls Locks Working Group, and we have another signed resolution from Polk County saying that they too are on board with the Corps of Engineers reopening and repairing the locks for river travel. So as we're motivating down the river, I suspect other counties will join us in that, and that's significant. They acted quite fast on it, and I personally thank the commissioners for their good work on that.
May I ask you a question on that? You know, it would seem, when it was open, and I did have a boat at that time, that Multnomah County should be interested in that being open too. Have they been approached?
I believe, yes, they have been approached, and as you know how it is, it takes time to do paperwork and resolutions. I suspect, well, they are quite friendly. They would like to see it open and they have their reasons as well. So we've asked any county or jurisdiction on the Willamette River if they would like to do that.
Good, excellent. Commissioner Bernard.
And perhaps the chair, given the call of the chair, might be a good idea to kind of push a letter through.
Well, we just sent one out, so.
She's more powerful than me.
So last Thursday night's meeting, I was not here. I was in Salem testifying on the community corrections budget. I would say that all counties have worked very hard to reduce the population, the folks they send to prison, and giving those folks who are in prison an opportunity to get out earlier. Now, these are folks who deserve to get out. I want to make sure that's clear. And it's usually, a month or two. But Clackamas County has some transitional beds, which they used through the Justice Reinvestment money that came from the state, which is basically potential savings of not putting folks in prison. And Clackamas County has been doing a really good job, and Clackamas County was recognized at that committee for the outstanding job that Chris Hoy was doing. So I appreciated that very much. Chris and I testified. Also along with us was a Dr. Bernard, no relationship, but it was kind of funny. And then after that, I had an opportunity to talk to Representative John Davis about the urban rural reserve process. And it was, I've never met him. I probably met him for a couple of minutes somewhere, but very nice guy. I really enjoyed sitting down and talking to him. I want to also thank staff for, taking me around. Had an opportunity to meet some people down in the lunchroom while I was waiting and had some good conversations. But Chris Lyons did a really good job. Stopped by to wave to Ann, who was in I believe, the Joint Committee on Marijuana at the time. It was, I just thought I'd wave to her. I think it's important that the commission reach out to those representatives of Clackamas County, but also across the region. So thank Chris Lyons for his efforts. And that's probably about it. We all try to make the meetings, but sometimes there's things that are, I heard it was going to be a short meeting and figured that I would not rush here and take my time hanging around the Capitol, see if I catch somebody in the hall, but I heard it was a bit longer. And I did watch the video. So thank you very much.
You were excused, and we announced that, so I appreciate your work down there, Jim, including yesterday. And now, Commissioner Schrader.
Well, thank you, Chair. I had an opportunity this past week to go to our meeting with our Parks District's Advisory Committee, and we reviewed their budget, and I got a firsthand look on some of the upkeep that needs to happen in our county park system. This is different than North Clackamas Parks and Rec District, which is more of an active recreation district. It's its own district. This is actually our county parks, which also has oversight over the over the golf course with us. And I know that this week we talked about the Heb Park boating ramp, and I heard about it first thing, and then it was presented to us here as a commission, as a group, by Rick Grew and some of the things that are going on. We are going to address the issue of the Madrone wall. I know that we're going to be talking about that. Frankly, this is an issue that's over a decade old, and I remember it from the last time I'm here, and we have some very active folks who want to see that open for climbing purposes, and I'm waiting to see again where the conversation leads with our Parks Advisory Board with respect to that. I have always felt that it's an idea worth looking at. It has some challenges, but hopefully we'll work on that together. Also, last week I attended the Lake Oswego annual awards dinner for our Chamber of Commerce, and I was very pleased to know how many people I actually knew in Lake Oswego now. That was kind of nice. It was like, oh, old timer, and there I am. The Oregon City Business Alliance met this week, and I think all of us went, and we got to hear about the state of Oregon City. Evidently, we off and on we have challenges with our cities, and I think that hopefully we will work through our challenges with Oregon City. But I thought that the presentation was well done. And I look forward to continuing to work with them on things. Today I'm going to be working with our audit committee for the first time, and then I'll be heading, I suspect, with Commissioner Bernard to the Veterans Advisory Committee. Then we're all going, I think, off to Estacada. I did want to mention one thing on the agenda today, and that was the approval of the Memorandum of Understanding between Clackamas County and the Workforce Investment Council. And basically what this does is provide job preparation, job search workshops, and case management for 300 Clackamas County adults in the Clackamas County Jail. One of the issues that we have in workforce is making sure that businesses get the pipeline of educated folks who they want to help their businesses succeed. But we also have a piece of the continuum where we really work hard to make sure that folks who are barriered in any way get the training and their needs met, And this was a Department of Labor grant. There is no general funds involved in this. And basically, we've been doing this since 2010. And I just want to give a shout out to Human Services and to Maureen Thompson for being knowledgeable enough to get these kinds of grants and for linking together the partnership with our Workforce Investment Board.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Savas.
Well, the administrator touched on what I want to speak about, and I'll just expand on it a little bit. So last night was our first in a while, quite a while, regional wastewater meeting, which includes the cities of Damascus, part of Damascus, Happy Valley, Milwaukee, the unincorporated area surrounding I-205 and McLaughlin Boulevard, absent Oak Lodge, and the cities of Gladstone, Oregon City, and West Lynn. And I think we had a pretty good meeting, some lively discussion for part of that. It's good to see that our elected officials and our representatives at the table were cognizant of the impacts, financial impacts, as we face some of the challenges. Some cities have a lot of pipes in the ground that are expensive, that they're responsible for, which they need to repair, and we have facilities that are starting to age that need to be repaired. And we're also we're a county that's growing, and part of that growing is addressing some of the capital needs. So there was at least some consensus last night to move forward with the capacity, looking into the capacity needs and how we meet that. So I want to just thank everyone for being there. We had quite a few people in the audience, and it's the beginning of some long discussions on how we solve some of those problems and how we do it in the most equitable and way we can. So I'll have more to report on that, and look forward to bring this to a conclusion, hopefully by November of this year.
Thank you. Real quickly, I testified this last week on e-cigarettes at the behest of Representative Kathleen Taylor. I did so at her behest also for the House bill, which passed, and now this is for the Senate bill. I met yesterday with Northwest's Natural President, Greg Cantor, a good discussion on Senate Bill 32, where they're trying to convene a group to talk about how to get gas to Estacada. And they mentioned also Dayton, Oregon, also is in great need, and that's a great food processing area along with Newburgh out that way. Tonight, as it mentioned, we'll be touring the Urban Renewal Project at Broadway Street in Estacada, and after that we'll be attending the Clackamas Cities Dinner. Coming up next week is a tour of Biotronic business in Lake Oswego, Martha's home stomping grounds. They produce biomedical equipment. Next week will be the Washington County State of the County, given by Commission Chair Andy Dyke, sponsored by the Westside Economic Alliance. Real quickly on decisions we made this week, legislative update, House Bill 3211, which many of us thought was dead. I think we have to thank Commissioner Bernard for his work down there yesterday specifically, and now Representative Clem has said they're going to reconvene that meeting when a lot of us thought it was over. That has to do with the Stafford area and finally getting something done with our urban and rural lands designations. We also voted 4-1 to ask the legislature to affirm the urban and rural reserves designation. And that would be really nice to get that done, as Commissioner Bernard has been pushing for a long time. We are in, as has become a popular verbiage, appellate purgatory, sitting here for years and possibly even years more until people like Wilsonville can expand and we can have designated and recognize these urban and rural lands. We voted also on House Bill 2386, 3-2 to oppose the bill. It has to do with minimum wage, and I think everybody should look to Washington. Even today, another article out about layoffs in Washington once they hit $15 per hour. In addition to that, there's some policy sessions, but I want to get to my unsung heroes of the week. And this is really fantastic. When I first came into office, I took a tour of their facility and realized what they do for the entire county, and that is the technology department. Often talked about, and here's what they do. When technology in the county is no longer usable for our purposes, but is still operational, the equipment is donated to local agencies like county schools, city, police, and fire departments, and some nonprofits. Several of the school districts heavily use T2, we call it, technology for teaching. for supplementing their equipment budget. Many of the computer labs are based on the T2 equipment. Cost is almost zero for the county, and administrative work and support is after hours and volunteer hours. T2 is an official 501c3 registered NPO with the state of Oregon, founded in March of 2010. To date, they have donated over 2,000 pieces of equipment, including PCs, laptops, monitors, printers, AV equipment, and networking gear. They have around 20-plus school districts, agencies, and NPOs, and are still adding more. Recently, they were able to assist several of the applicants for the mini grants that BCC sponsored that didn't get awards. T2 has been honored with a 2011 NACO, that's National Association of Counties, Achievement Award, when TS won the 2014 National First Place NACO Digital Counties Award. And then also T2 was part of the overall application as part of the sustainability portion of the application. While not large, it has been a huge success in supporting county schools, agencies, and getting the most bang for the taxpayer buck. So thank you, T2. Fantastic work, again, for the benefit of all of this county. And Mary's about to put up my final announcement, which is the 2015 Town Hall meetings. Now, again, a reminder, these are different than what we've done in the last few years. They are specific, so they really draw from the entire county, not just those people in these particular areas, which I will announce. And again, first topic is Grow a Vibrant Economy. The location will be in the Stafford area, possibly but not quite arrived at Stafford Primary School, Tuesday, April 21st. That's our first one. 4 during the year. And note, please, Building a Strong Infrastructure will be in Milwaukee on June 17th. Ensure Safe and Healthy Communities in Canby on August 31st. And Honor, Utilize, Promote, and Invest in Our Natural Resources will be appropriately at Welch's at the Resort on the Mountain on October 28th. So again, we look forward to that and our exposure to a lot of people. We invite everybody to come from throughout the county on these topics because they do vary in this particular case. Ladies and gentlemen, there being no further business, we're going to set a new world's record maybe, before the commission this day, this meeting is adjourned.